Welcome in. As I promised, a quick pit stop here in Visalia. This is my childhood home, and it's such a quick pit stop because the 49ers have practice at 10:40 a.m. tomorrow, and I've got probably a 3-hour drive ahead of me. Not even unpacking the suitcase. That means that we're just doing the live on the phone. And I figured that there were no previews of 49ers veteran minicamp out there, so let's get a preview a 49ers veteran minicamp out there. Just a run through of some stuff to keep an eye out for, what I'll be watching over the next 2 days on the practice field in Santa Clara as we eat some good San Joaquin Valley fruit. Mandarins, apricots, all very nice. I'm trying to feel healthy before it gets busy here the next couple days. But anyway, what I'm watching with the 49ers, this is my main thing. Is Nick Bosa going to be there? Because this is mandatory now at this point. If you don't show up, you get fined. Nick Bosa missing OTAs is something that happens every single season. But even Deebo Samuel was at the mandatory veteran minicamp last year, and he was technically holding out at the time, right? There was all that contractual dispute. There was a trade request in from Tory Dandy, Deebo Samuel's agent. It was obviously just a leverage play, but I mean, it was still drama. Drama still counted. Phone cameras were on Deebo Samuel when he showed up at 49ers mandatory veteran minicamp, and it's because he didn't want to get fined. And Nick Bosa has not produced a shred of drama in this contractual situation right here. So I'm in no way equating it to the Deebo Samuel situation. But tomorrow is the first day of this offseason that Nick Bosa has to be at the facility. I fully expect him to be there. If he's not, it's going to cause some feathers to ruffle, especially on social media. You can be sure that that's going to be a popular headline tomorrow. Nick Bosa not at mandatory minicamp. So he should be there. I don't think that the contract is something that the 49ers and Bosa's representation, Brian Aerolt's his agent, are at an impasse with right now. I think that it's something that they all expect to resolve once training camp approaches. An impasse would only happen if the deadline pressure that is expected to spur this deal along doesn't spur it along. And in the case of Joey Bosa, who's also represented by Brian Aerolt, the agent for both of the brothers, Joey Bosa's contract was signed right before the Chargers started training camp in 2020. So I'd expect a similar result for Nick Bosa. I think everything is proceeding so far as planned this offseason. And, I would expect him to be at 49ers mandatory veteran minicamp tomorrow. If he's not around, we can talk about what that means. Probably not all too much. It just means that a contract hasn't been reached, and we already know that. But still, with fines coming, if he's not there, you would expect Nick Bosa to be there. Tomorrow's going to be our first look, in all likelihood, at Javon Hargrave in a 49ers uniform. Now, Javon, obviously the big money free agent signing, top defensive free agent on the market this year. The 49ers shocked a lot of people, maybe even their own D-line coach, Chris Kasarik, by landing the big fish. Taking him from Philadelphia, that was big in the balance of power atop the NFC. Well, Hargrave, with his $84 million deal, hasn't been at OTAs yet. Also, nothing to be worried about. I mean, OTAs are mainly for younger players. If you're Christian McCaffrey, you're football obsessed, and you're going after it 120% every single play, you can feel free to show up. But that doesn't mean that you're lazy if you're not there. Nick Bosa's working his ass off elsewhere, and I'm sure Javon Hargrave has been working his ass off elsewhere. But again, it's mandatory tomorrow and Wednesday. 49ers have moved that veteran minicamp up a week. OTAs are going to end, and we're going to get our first look at Javon Hargrave in all likelihood because, again, he doesn't want to get fined either. So Hargrave's going to be out there, somebody who I think is going to change the entire dynamic of the 49ers defensive line. They're coming off a down year up front on the interior. Bosa was amazing last year. The tackles weren't. 49ers' best defensive tackle last year was Eric Armstead, but he was hurt for most of the time. Javon Kinlaw, hurt for most of the time. Kevin Givens, I mean, it's Kevin Givens. He's a rotational player, right? They had to go down to the depths of T.Y. McGill, Kerry Hyder on the inside. They were not imposing up front along that interior, which is why we said that they should make a splash in free agency this offseason at defensive tackle. We just didn't anticipate that the 49ers would make the biggest splash of them all. And that's going to be Javon Hargrave. Hasn't been at OTAs yet. I'd expect him to be in the building at the facility tomorrow. I have a little bit more of this apricot. Oh, a ton of fruit. Look at that. Good looking apricots. It's heavy too. I eat my weight in fruit here over the 12 hours that I'm going to be in Visalia before we move on. It's going to be about a 3-hour drive. Niners starting earlier than normal tomorrow, 10:40 a.m. I don't think I'll be able to get my breakfast burrito in Visalia. May have to get something on the road, maybe Los Banos, one of those places on the road. But 10:40 a.m. practice tomorrow, 10:50 a.m. on Wednesday for the 49ers or vice versa. I'm not sure. It might be 10:50 and 10:40. But 2 days of this, and then everybody's going to be going home for 40 days. And Kyle Shanahan always talks about these 40 days away. As soon as veteran minicamp is over, it's about 40 days until players report back for training camp. And it's so important that players treat these 40 days that are coming up very seriously and take full advantage of them, because this is going to determine whether or not you're in shape to begin training camp and ready to go, or if you're behind the 8 ball to start training camp. These 40 days, football fans tune out. It's the time of the year when the NFL finally takes off of the media cycle, right? July is the dead period. The only holiday the NFL doesn't own is the 4th of July. It's probably going to change at some point soon. They'll figure out a way to monopolize that too. But even though it's not in the media circus, it is extremely, extremely important that players handle the time away efficiently. For Trey Lance, he's going to be having to double down on his mechanics. He's probably going to be throwing down in Southern California with Brandon Ayuk. That's what he did, I believe, last season. For Brock Purdy, he's going to have to finish up that rehab well, so he's back in time for training camp. Other guys like Javon Kinlaw have to fortify their bodies for the off season. I mean, these are big 40 days coming up. So how the 49ers set it up for those 40 days here over the next 2 days of veteran minicamp is going to be important. You have to set that tone for the time away. Now, I'll also be watching this. Since everybody should be there, and I know Debo Samuel already showed up last week. I don't know if he's going to be taking part in team drills or not. But for the most part, this is the fullest house that you're going to have until training camp, right? I mean, I don't think it's possible to be in any different type of setup. So you're going to be wanting to watch Trey Lance. You're going to be wanting to watch Sam Darnold, Brandon Allen. These QBs, how are they going to be in rhythm with a nearly full cast of weapons? And I put question mark by full cast because, yeah, sometimes full cast comes with an asterisk in these offseason programs. You're not going to put all your A-listers out there. Maybe Debo's only working off on the side. But still, this is before that 40-day stretch away. This is the last chance for Trey Lance, who needs the reps. Last chance, even Sam Darnold, who needs the reps within the system. This is the last chance to work within the structure of the offense with as many players as possible. So let's see what that rhythm looks like for the 49ers as they embark on these final 2 practices before the 40 days away. Now, right before I went live here, we were in the living room. I was with my parents in Visalia and my grandmother, and we just popped open YouTube, and we watched a couple 49ers highlight reels. First one was the 2022 Brock Purdy highlight reel. And the second one was 49ers Rams, Week 18, 2021 season. So that was January 2022, but it was the 2021 season. Win or go home, epic game. And that was like the last 5 minutes of regulation plus all of overtime. The video took like 45 minutes. That was like drawn out drama. What a football game, though. Heavyweight fight. Obviously, the 49ers got the Rams in that one, but they didn't get them in an NFC Championship game. But first, let me talk about Brock Purdy. Watching him every single time I see him, especially the highlight reel, it blows me away to see the athleticism. There was some stupid clickbait tweet yesterday. Somebody's, acting like they were smart, saying, I don't even know who it was, but it was just, nowadays you don't even have to follow some of these people, and you just have to mute them because you don't want to see some of these thoughts. They're so far off base. But the thought was, oh yeah, Brock Purdy's not athletic, and a lot of people agree with me. And it's like, okay, here's the attention you ordered. What's your point? First off, is anybody calling him Lamar Jackson? Colin Kaepernick, and Steve Young? No, nobody's calling Brock Purdy any of these quarterbacks in terms of athleticism. But it's a major red flag when I see somebody tweet Brock Purdy's not athletic. It's like, you did not watch what Brock Purdy did last year, because he is athletic. Again, he's not Steve Young speed. He's not Lamar Jackson speed. He's not, you name it, athletic quarterback speed. But Brock Purdy's burst, and I'm talking his first 3 to 4 steps from a stationary position, his burst is clearly faster than Trey Lance's burst. I think his burst is probably faster than Sam Darnold's burst. The escapability that Brock Purdy showed last season, and I was just reminded of it on his highlight reel, was sensational and extremely surprising, not just to me, but to opposing defenses. It just count how many sacks he got out of, because his first 2 steps at edge rushers, defensive tackles weren't ready for how quickly he was able to bolt out of the pocket. Now, if he had to run 40 yards, then guys would start to catch up. I would say that Trey Lance's 40 is probably faster than Brock Purdy, but Brock Purdy's 10-yard split is faster than Trey Lance's 40. Brock Purdy's 10-yard split, when they measured it at the NFL Combine, is faster than Christian McCaffrey's. It's only 1/100th of a second slower than Lamar Jackson. I mean, this is freak of nature anomaly kind of stuff. Brock Purdy's 10-yard split, which I think is a 1.61, should translate to about a 4.4 to 4.5 40. Instead, his 40 is like 4.7, right? Maybe 4.8. His 40 is obviously not what his 10-yard split should be. It's to the point where I remember last season, I walk up to Brock Purdy and ask him about it, and I mentioned his 10-yard split, and Dre Greenlaw has the locker right next to Brock Purdy, and Dre Greenlaw interrupts us. He's like, holy shit, you have a 1.6 10-yard split? You should be running a 4.4. That's how wild Brock Purdy's boost is on the field. So there are some unfathomably, it's a 1.55, Mike tells me. So I'm underselling Brock Purdy's. I'm talking about this. A 1.55 10-yard split. There are some unfathomably dumb tweets out there talking about how Brock Purdy is not athletic and how he's, run-of-the-mill pedestrian numbers. Well, guess what? Those tweets are wrong. Those people are wrong. They're dead wrong. The metrics say they're wrong, and the tape says they're wrong. What made Brock Purdy special last year was a combination of skills, right? But he was obviously able to deliver within the structure of the 49ers offense at a surprisingly efficient level due to the fact that he was a rookie. But taking that to the next level, what took good, efficient execution of the offense to top, I think, 7 or top 6 efficiency execution of the offense was Purdy's escapability. And trust me, put on the 2022 highlight reel. It shows up down after down after down. The 10-yard burst. And that's all that matters for a quarterback, especially in this system. It's way more important than 40-yard speed. And I was floored again. I really was watching that. Now, my question is how, last year I think some of that burst really caught opponents off guard, right? As the season went along, it seemed to me that defenses started to figure it out a little bit, right? They said, okay, hey, here's the big irony. Another series of really stupid tweets call Purdy a dink and dunk passer, right? Assuming that he's just some guy that sits in the pocket and is trying to carve you up 5 yards at a time. Obviously, couldn't be further from the truth if you actually watch the game tape last year. The fact that Brock Purdy's biggest strength as far as creating electric plays was his burst that led to escapability. The fact that that's actually his biggest strength is almost comical when you have some people trying to say that he's just a dink and dunker, because those are like two completely opposite characteristics. Somebody who's got a 10-yard burst, who's got escapability, who's creating opportunities outside of structure, is definitely not just a guy that's throwing 3 yards downfield or 2 or 3 yards short of the sticks every time and not setting up any yards after the catch. It's just wild to me how poor the narratives and how incorrect the narratives surrounding Brock Purdy are. At the end of the day, you've got a quarterback that's very athletic where it matters, as far as that short area escapability. You've got a quarterback that is lethally accurate on intermediate passes. That's also something that I wonder if it's going to regress to the mean for Brock Purdy next year and defenses adjust, because he was at 80+% on intermediate throws that traveled over 10 yards, under 20 yards in the air, highest on record. The highest percentage prior to that was like 72. He was at 80+% last year. So that's going to be something that he has to, keep up this year. And as far as the escapability goes, you saw defenses last year, especially as the season progressed, they tried to force Purdy to flush out of the pocket to his naked side, right? So if he's right-handed, to his left side, so he'd have to flip his hips, reset, and it threw the 49ers out of rhythm. The irony is, that people are accusing him of being a dink and dunk passer, yet opposing defensive coordinators are trying to get him out of the pocket. If somebody's a dink and dunk passer, you don't give a shit if he stays in the pocket. He's just going to sit there, and if you need 10 yards, he's going to give you 8. And then you got to punt, right? It's a dink and dunk passer doesn't threaten an opposing defense to the point where they have to say, wait, let's get him out of the pocket. With Brock Purdy, they're trying to get him out of that pocket because he was hitting those intermediates from the pocket so efficiently last year. So they said, okay, well, we got to pressure him in a way that escapability is not used to completely kill us. And they found that making him roll out to the naked side was what killed the 49ers' efficiency, or at least hampered it enough to say, okay, that's an adjustment the defenses have used against Brock Purdy. So what Purdy needs to do is actually find a way to stay in the pocket more this season. The play where he got hurt against the Eagles is a great example, right? You have Hassan Reddick coming around the edge. You have Tyler Kroft blocking him. Tyler Kroft not doing the worst job in the world blocking him. I don't think it was the best job by any stretch of the imagination, but that's a play on which you would like to see 1 to 2 more steps up in the pocket from Brock Purdy. Now, that starts to bring the question of, has he hit a ceiling of sorts because he's not the tallest quarterback? Is his comfort level in the pocket going to have limitations to it because the pocket normally is friendlier to guys who are 6'2", 6'3", and above, not 6-foot quarterbacks? And maybe that's why Purdy did like to escape more often than not once stuff started to break down instead of step up last year. Maybe that's, maybe that's where the 49ers are going to run into areas where they have to get creative to make the next counter adjustment. But trying to peg Brock Purdy as a simple QB who's only thrown a few yards downfield and isn't really athletic, those are pretty lazy takes that don't hold up to the highlight reel. They don't hold up to the game tape either. Today, I was just having fun with my family. We sat back and we watched that highlight reel, and it was impressive. Now, back to 2021. Mandarins are good. We also watched the end of that 49ers-Rams game. Oh, my God. What a football game. Garoppolo was amazing down the stretch of that game, obviously. He was playing with a torn ligament in his thumb, and he scored threw the touchdown to Javon Jennings to tie the game. And Javon Jennings, let's talk about him, absolute monster. Not only did he have the game-tying touchdown, he's wide open on that, but 2 third-down conversions on the overtime drive where Robbie Gould ended up kicking the game-winning field goal, the eventual game-winning field goal. None of that happens if Robbie Gould does not step up and punt for the 49ers late in the game. Because Mitch Wishnowsky was not available in that game. Mitch Wishnowsky was hurt, right? I believe concussion for Mitch Wishnowsky. So Robbie Gould had to step up to be the 49ers punter. And he had punts of 47 and 42 yards with the 49ers up against it, down 24-17, punting the ball away, less than 2 minutes left. So Robbie Gould saved the 49ers skim. Then the Rams, for some inexplicable reason, decided not to throw the ball at all, even though the 49ers didn't have good cornerback play last season. The Rams fixed their mistake in the NFC Championship game. But they ran 3 times, punted it back to the 49ers. Then Garoppolo, with the torn thumb ligament, led the 49ers downfield. Sensational throw to Deebo Samuel. There's stuff that I noticed for the first time watching this game that I haven't noticed after watching it 5 times before, however many times. Well, I can't believe I missed this on prior watches. But Deebo Samuel was going to run, and was actually running a corner route That was going to be a throw over the top. But Garoppolo didn't have enough time. Trent Williams wasn't playing. Trent Williams was on the sideline of that game. It was Colton McKivitz and Tom Compton were the tackles. 49ers were totally overmatched up front. So there was no time. 49ers had to get creative. Garoppolo had to get creative with stepping up in the pocket, quick release kind of stuff. And one of the most creative plays was that big gainer to Deebo Samuel. What was it, 54 yards, I think, where Jalen Ramsey was diving and couldn't quite get to the football. Samuel was going to run this deep corner, but because Garoppolo was forced forward in the pocket, that's something that Brock Purdy has to get better at, right? You got to step up in the pocket. Garoppolo was forced forward in the pocket, had to get rid of the football. Samuel read that, and Samuel came back to the ball, and Garoppolo, with the torn thumb ligament, drove it in there, and obviously Jalen Ramsey couldn't get it. It's stuff like that kind of goes down in 49ers history, right? You watch these games, and you're like, oh, that little detail, I didn't notice it until then, because there's just so much going on after the game. But it really was something. But anyway, Deebo Samuel was a monster that season. 49ers hoping that he gets back to that. But Javon Jennings, again, contract year for him. He's only making $940,000 this year. He's about to get paid a lot more if he stays healthy. You got to knock on wood for Javon Jennings. The out patterns that he caught in OT of that game against the Rams, the routes that he ran, and then the yards after the catch, and the dependability. He just looked like a football player. And obviously he caught the game-winning the game-tying touchdown as well. But those were two of the biggest third-down catches of the year for the 49ers in overtime. And then obviously Ambry Thomas walked it off with the pick. One thing that stood out to me is the 49ers have a lot more talent now across both sides of the ball. They didn't have McCaffrey in that game. Trent Williams is going to be healthy now, they hope, at least when they play a team like the Rams. They're not lining JaMychal Hasty up in the backfield anymore. He's not even on the team anymore. And the pass rush should be better. They're going to have guys like Hargrave now. Obviously, Nick Bosa still on the team. Secondary should be better. Charvarius Ward joined the team the next season. So just really fun stuff to go down memory lane, watch those two highlight reels on YouTube tonight. Maybe next time I should just kind of live stream it in the living room as we're watching. And you guys can simultaneously watch and we can talk about it. I'm going to answer some questions. That way I can eat. If you have a question, put it up right now. I'm not going to scroll. I'm on my phone. Scrolling doesn't seem too appealing to me. Eating little mandarins here from Visalia. Prague was awesome. It was a really good time. I was only there for 4 nights, though, so it's pretty exhausting to go out to Europe and then come back. I was there in between OTA practices. I made a video about this. Why the Niners working out a 5th quarterback. You're always collecting information, right? So you always want to have more and more info in the Rolodex. If he blows you away, you could justify having 5 right now because one of your 5 Purdy is not available. So if you need 4, and plus you're just going to be going through a dead period of the offseason. They're not signing him with any guarantee, so you'd have to blow them away. But it's mainly Rolodex work. Workouts rarely turn into signings, right? The percentage of workouts that turn into signings are not very high. So it's always a good idea to do your due diligence if there's something about a quarterback that does intrigue you, because as we've learned, you can never have too many of them. I think that Jair Brown is standing out, and he's going to continue standing out for the 49ers. Minicamp is basically like OTAs. It's not going to be much different. They're in shorts. They're not in pads. It's going to be like OTA practices, except now it's mandatory. So, guys like Nick Bosa and Javon Hargrave and everybody's expected to be there. Just a way to get the entire team together before they break for the offseason. Why not take up a roster spot? Zane Gonzalez has some value. He's got more value than another 90th man on the roster would have at a random position like linebacker. 49ers got Zane Gonzalez for essentially nothing. A pick swap in the 7th round that's conditional, only if Zane makes the 53-man roster. And he's got a really favorable contract. So if Zane Gonzalez kicks well this offseason in the training camp, somebody's going to need a kicker at the end of camp. And assuming Jake Moody's healthy, doing well, 49ers might be able to flip Zane Gonzalez. So say that it was a pick swap, a 7th-round pick swap that you got him for. Maybe somebody sends you a 6 for Zane Gonzalez. That's a free 6th-round pick that the 49ers can get out of this. He's got a good contract. He's got 1 year left and an affordable price. There might be somebody that bites. So keeping Zane Gonzalez is insurance for the rookie Jake Moody. It's competition for the rookie Jake Moody. There's nothing wrong with competition, especially for an unproven rookie. And 3, it's an asset for the 49ers. You don't just cut assets. Kind of like, this is a different level, but remember how monumentally stupid the idea to cut Jimmy Garoppolo would have been in 2021? That's a lot of social media wanted to do that. Like I said, it's a business decision. Any business with its head screwed on straight is not going to cut a valuable quarterback for nothing, right? So you're not going to cut a potentially valuable kicker for nothing. You're dealing with a much smaller scale here, but the idea is similar. You don't let go of him until you absolutely have to. Yep, Mike says 49ers might be able to trade him. I'm not going to answer hypotheticals about the quarterback situation because you could come up with as many hypotheticals as you want. The permutations and possibilities are endless. The way that I answer hypotheticals about the QB spot for the 49ers is I say, just build yourself as many options as possible. Develop Trey Lance into as good of a quarterback as possible. Develop Brock Purdy and rehab him into as good of a quarterback as possible. And get Sam Darnold acclimated with the playbook as well as possible. Do all 3 of those things. You're going to have at least 3 good QBs. Who knows where Brandon Allen's going to end up? I don't think he's thrown an incompletion yet in OTAs. So give yourself the most possible competent arms, quarterbacks, and minds too, because quarterbacks got to be able to think, and then go to battle with those guys. And then whatever crap the season throws your way, whatever unpredictable twists and turns come, you can deal with them as they do come. Option power is what saved the 49ers last year. And a lack of it's what killed them. Trey Lance has every single opportunity, as long to prove himself this offseason. Now, he didn't have those opportunities the past 2 years because he got hurt both of those years. So you hope that it, remains in a position where Trey Lance stays healthy for the 49ers. But so far, it's proven to be a challenge for him. That being said, as long as he stays healthy, if he's the best guy, the 49ers will go to him. I'll tell you right now, Trey Lance is not the best guy. Brock Purdy has that spot. Trey's got to develop a faster release. Trey's got to develop, just a better command of just the proceedings. I think Brock Purdy was just such a vet and such a pro in that regard last year. For Lance, he's so raw that he just needs more time. And that's where Trey is behind the 8 ball, right? He would have gotten those opportunities essentially for free just due to draft status last year, but then he fractured his ankle in week 2. So he had a long leash last year. He had runway, and then he got hurt. The situation has changed. Brock Purdy's proven it now. Trey hasn't. So you don't give Trey anything for free. He has a fair chance to take it, but nothing is given to him for free. He's got to very, very clearly show Kyle Shanahan that he's the best man this offseason. Jorge asks, breakout year for Kinlaw? It doesn't necessarily need to be a breakout year, but maybe it could be maybe for Javon Kinlaw it could be a nice productive contract year, which would be a breakout year, I guess. When people talk about breakout year, they're thinking 10 sacks and stuff like that. I don't think the 49ers need that. Just need a nice, strong rotational piece. And for those who feel like this, if you don't trust Kinlaw, that's why they have Hargrave. You don't have to trust Kinlaw if he's just a rotational piece. He's not a starter anymore. Gives the 49ers a nice floor at that position. These are really good. If you're ever in the Central Valley, get a nice little apricot. All right. I think a 30-minute show was a fun way to do this. So, anyway, back to here. 49ers minicamp. I'll be looking for Nick Bosa tomorrow. First look at Hargrave. I want to see some quarterback rhythm, and I want to see the 49ers and how they set themselves up for 40 days away. Quick stop in Visalia. I didn't even unpack my bag. This is why I have a little mini tripod on my phone. Hopefully the live is acceptable. When we get back to Nashville here in a couple days after minicamp, we'll be sure to do some nice studio shows. Good quality. But I think for the time being, this will do it. Everybody, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. We'll see you soon.